Hello and welcome to episode 138 of Gamers and Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Tesson, and joining me this week, it's the other spark on the pod, a man who in his desperate attempt to find all the roads in Forza forgot how to count. It's Mr. Stuart Burgess.
I knew you were coming up with something very droll like that, you cheeky little, yes, hello, thank you for having
531.
me. Yeah, no,
531.
I know, I'm sorry, but the achievement popped, so I stopped looking, and the problem is when you're at the front of the pack, you don't get told how many roads there are. So my achievement popped, I looked at my map, I couldn't see any, and to be honest, I still can't see any. So, yes, I am the true winner, and I am going based on when the achievement popped, not when someone else came swandling along afterwards and said they unlocked all the roads. So, but no, I honestly, I don't know what happened there. I cannot find the roads. I can't see how many roads I've done. And it was only when Mapu put his thing up the other day saying, I'll just leave this here. I was like, hey, I've got all the roads. I've got the achievement. But yeah, so I'm not sure what's gone on then. But Playground, I think you might have a bug in your machine.
Yes, absolutely. For those joining us, hello. So what we're talking about is the Forza WhatsApp group that we have. The WhatsApp group, we were basically, Stu kind of unlocked 529 roads.
I don't know. I think it was over the weekend. I sat down and was just chilling, and I managed to unlock all of them. Apparently, bar 2. Apparently, yes. But I saw the achievement pop and I thought, done it, excellent, wind everybody else up. And then it was only the other day I was made aware that I'm missing 2, but I'll be buggered if I know where those 2 are because I cannot see them.
So when you're driving around, because I know, when you drive around and you hit a new road, which is the kind of lightly grade, we're talking about Forza Horizon, of course, it says like unlocked a new road, and then it says like X of Y, and then it comes up with a leaderboard. Didn't it do that for you? Didn't it say like?
No, when I unlocked the roads, it came up saying, you've unlocked however many it is, and I knew I was in front of you by, just a small, about 150, I think.
Just a small
amount. And I was doing the usual like you have with Forza, where you're looking at the map trying to find those little roads, and I found a few right up the top by where the Flying Scotsman is. And I went up there and I did these few roads, and then ping, it popped, and it says, the rare achievement, you've unlocked every road in the game. But then the problem is that I obviously thought I'd done it, finished it then, so I then had a quick look, got all the roads, couldn't see anything, and then, as you say, unless you unlock a new road, you don't see that you haven't unlocked all of them, but because the achievement popped, I just went, okay, I've unlocked all of them. So I'm just going on when the achievement unlocked. There's obviously a bug in my machine, which means I did unlock all of them. I have found all of them, but for some reason it's just not registered those 2 roads on everybody else's computers.
Well, I think Matt found on Reddit that there's actually a bug in Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
The achievement is popping up 529 and not 530.
Yeah, he posted that. I just ignored it.
Yes. So the 529 is the new 531.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going on achievement. It's the first to get the achievement, and I got the achievement. So no,
that's it. That's the one thing that can register because you've always got that date.
Yeah,
you've always got that date.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but put that as an intro. So Stu, hello sir, how you doing? How's your week been?
Yeah, my week's been good. Yeah, it's not been doing a huge amount. Had a relaxing weekend. Playing Forza, which we'll get onto later, but we've already done a big chunk of that as well. But yeah, had an interesting day today. Really, we're supposed to be going up to the dizzy heights of Kensington and Chelsea to go and do a site survey. That got cancelled, so went along to an expo, an open day at one of my distributors in London, and got to see some nice shiny new tech. So, I really wanted to go because there was some really good stuff on show. So got to see the 2 latest Sony TVs from their Master Series. So these are their really high end TVs. So they're AF9 OLED. And then the other one escapes me, which is their LED LCD TV.
Right.
But yeah, they're really nice sets. The AF.
How big were they? Were they 65, 75?
Both they're 65. So I think the AF9 is 65 and 55. And they're keeping the A1 as the 77. Then I can't remember the LED LCD one goes up to a 75 inch.
Wow.
Which I've got to admit, I'm sitting here in front of my tiny 65 inch Panasonic and looking at it going, what I paid for this 2.5 years ago, I can now get the top of the range Sony 75 for. So, you're talking new off the shelf, just released. I think it's £4,200 for a 75 inch TV. And you're talking high end, this is the top of the range that they do. So you're not talking budget TV. So £4,000 for a 75 inch, reference quality TV is brilliant. But the OLED.
But is that the LCD LED one?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think what they said the OLED was at the moment, but it's not.
About 25 grand.
No. It's not. They are really affordable TVs. They are now. They're not too bad whatsoever. But
that's really good.
The good thing about the OLED is that they've calibrated it to be within a gnat's whisker, as they say, of being a Sony reference monitor. So these are the 30-inch monitors they use when they actually film the movies in Hollywood. So the colours are so accurate. The movie director goes off those colours. So Sony have now brought that into their TVs. So, you're hopefully, if you do it in the right calibration, which I think your TV might have it, I'm not sure, which is Kalman auto calibration in it. So you can connect a camera to it, connect it to a computer, and it used to take us about 3 hours to properly calibrate the TV. But now what you can do is you can do a bit of software with the professional grade cameras that we use, and you can calibrate a TV to reference quality in about 6 minutes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's got a Netflix calibration mode, so they've worked really closely with Netflix. So
that was it.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew there was something about there. There was something that was really cool about these new TVs, and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. The hypocrite on me goes, is it a bit of a gimmick? Is it not a gimmick? But is it something to sell the TV? Because actually, if you do the Kalman auto calibration, then, you're getting a reference monitor. But talking to the guys from Sony today, they say they've worked with, because you've got to remember Sony, in some ways, sometimes to their detriment, they are Sony PlayStation, they are Sony movies, they are Sony TVs, they are Sony everything. So there's actually a snippet, which I don't know whether it exists on YouTube. I have to find it. And if I can, I'll put it up. But it's like, this script was written by a guy and then it was shot on a Sony camera. It was listened to back using Sony headphones. It was viewed on a Sony monitor and then it was played back on a Sony TV. And it just showed you how much influence Sony have in Hollywood. But no, they apparently have worked with Netflix on this set to work out the what should be the official calibration status. So if you go into the TV and you watch Netflix through the TV will automatically pop over to the Netflix calibration. That should be, the best picture you'll get for your if it's in Dolby Vision as well. So yeah, I mean, it can only help, because I do believe people take their TVs from, said big sheds where they buy them from, and they're always set to vivid, and they don't play and tweak around with it like you do and like I do. So they're always watching it in the brightest, highest contrast and the brightest picture and the brightest backlight, because they're vivid modes. And unfortunately, people's terms of quality is a bright image, where actually that's not necessarily right. So it's good that they're putting these simple things into it so people can calibrate them a bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was saying on our group a couple of months ago it was even last month, I think it was when a new movie came out. It might have been Guardians, or it might have been Infinity War. No, it was Infinity War. When I was saying that kind of whenever I get a new Blu-ray, I kind of pop through all those presets, because you're right. When you go to John Lewis or whatever and have a look at the new TVs, all the new TVs are so sharp and vivid and bright, aren't they? And it makes the image look kind of, so I always kind of, whenever I get like a new Blu-ray, like kind of Infinity War, I kind of pop through the different settings just to see what it's like. It's almost John Lewis mode, and I watch it for about a minute, and then I'm like, no, don't like it, and then go back to the kind of the THX mode or whatever it is on on the TV, and I just go back to that mode because it's just so nice. It's just so natural, but the colours are still popping, and the blacks are just incredible as well.
That's it. I mean, it's always worth having a play around with, because actually, like my TV is set to THX mode, which actually some people, that's a darker, slightly browner image, but that brings the blacks out and makes the contrast slightly higher. So no, got to see those, which was really interesting. Unfortunately, for yourself, as you've just bought a new TV, got to see the world's first 8K TV.
Wow.
So they had
what was that?
They had the Samsung 65-inch 8K TV there. I mean, it looked stunning, and and on the predefined content in inverted commas that they were showing, it looked absolutely stunning. It was beautiful. It was like the difference between 4K and HD.
Right.
The problem is that you're not never gonna see that content, but you're not gonna see that content for ages. And so actually, I was slightly disappointed that they weren't running a Sky Q box for it. So they were showing some everyday content. I mean, okay, it was the wow factor. They were trying to show you the wow factor, but I think any advice to anybody out there who goes and buys a TV is, if you're looking at the TV and you like the TV, get them to switch on a DVD or a Blu-ray. I mean, I know some of the guys have even taken their Xbox or their PlayStations along and said, can I plug it in and see what this game looks like? I mean, obviously ask the guys first, but ask them to show everyday content, because I've had it before where, how we met for a retailer, that retailer would have shown you content which is specific to that, so 4K in native content. But then when you get home and you've got your Freeview on it, or you've got your Sky Q HD or SD on it, it looks nothing like the UHD 4K. So, I would have liked to see that a bit more. So, but no, I mean, it looks stunning. I mean, cost-wise, I think the 65-inch is £17,000. So, not something most people are going to afford at the moment, but, technology is technology, and it will move on. And also that is their QLED TV. So that is their LED LCD TV, because Samsung aren't going after the OLED market, which I've got to say, after seeing a few OLEDs recently, I'm still on the fence. I've seen some amazing LED LCD TVs, and then I've seen some really good OLED TVs, and I don't know. I think when I change my TV, I'm not sure which way I would go, and I work in the industry every day. So it's interesting. And then, the best thing I got to see today was one of the reasons why I rushed up there, to be honest, was I got to see one of the first UK showings of the new IMAX enhanced format for the home cinema.
Oh yes.
So we got to see it because of the relationship our supplier has with Denon and Marantz, and basically. IMAX are doing a IMAX Enhance for the home theatre, basically for the home cinema. So it basically is surrounding equipment and surrounding the audio, the video. But what we got to see today was just the way that they're going to use the IMAX screen in the home a bit more, and then obviously the audio with DTS, which is another version of Dolby Atmos. But it was quite interesting because a lot of people don't realise, but I think you obviously go to cinema. I know you go to cinema and sometimes you watch IMAX movies, but then when you get that in your home and it's shown on your Apple TV or your Blu-ray in a 16:9 or 235 format, it's cropped. You don't see an IMAX image. So what IMAX are saying is that when you watch what they were showing today basically was a 235 image on a 16:9 screen. I think it's a 130-inch projector. And then they were showing the movie as you would see it as a 235 movie, and then how you'll see it, expanded as an IMAX enhanced movie. So you will almost watch in a 16:9 movie, but then because IMAX is always shot more with grander scales, you're seeing a similar image to 16:9, but you're seeing a hell of a lot more of the image, more detail, more immersiveness. So that was really eye-opening. That sounded phenomenal. It looked phenomenal, and certainly something I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, definitely.
So in order to play that content, is it a player that you need, or is it a TV that you need, or what triggers the IMAX format in the home?
So basically, it will be at the moment they're working with Sony. There's a few people, but Sony's one of them with mainly their projectors, and I think their TVs as well. And then they're working with Sound United, who own Denon and Marantz, as well as some other brands. And basically, it's a couple of things. So there will be hardware certification. So it's a bit like THX. There will be hardware certification, which will be IMAX enhanced. So that could be the projector. But the actual sound format of IMAX enhanced would be via the amp. So you will basically buy a 4K Blu-ray, which is IMAX enhanced certified Blu-ray. That will also have the DTX and maybe the Dolby Atmos soundtrack on it. You'll then pop that in your, Panasonic UB9000 Blu-ray player. And then it will then understand that as what the picture should be, and then also what the sound audio should be, and then it will give it to you in an IMAX enhanced audio, which is based on DTSX. And then also what it will hopefully mean is that when you're watching something, I can't remember which one it was now, I think it might have been The Dark Knight, it was definitely one of the Batman movies, but it kept on flicking from IMAX to 16:9. And so hopefully what that will mean is that if you're in a cinema and you've got a 16:9 screen and you're watching the movie and it comes up in CinemaScope, so 235, that when it flicks to IMAX, you won't lose any of the image. So it won't cut anybody's forehead off. The screen will actually, get bigger and show you that IMAX image, and then it will get smaller again when it's a normal image. If you're then using an automatically masking screen, like you would do in a cinema, the screen can then mask to match the picture resolution you're getting. So the idea is it just gets a bit more immersive, in sound and vision. But it doesn't look like it's going to be aspirational. I mean, the Denon 6500 amp is a £1,500, £2,000 amp. So not a stupidly expensive amp. Sony projectors are 4 or 5 grand plus. So it's very, very early days, and the content we saw was under NDA. But so far, it looks really interesting. So I'm looking forward to potentially getting it in the dem room when it comes out. But it just looks like another really good format that we'll be able to get in the home.
That sounds so cool, because I think the movie that you were talking about was The Dark Knight Returns, because I remember going to see that at the IMAX in Waterloo. So I went there to see that, and it was really interesting, because there were bits where it was full screen IMAX, and then it went to like kind of 16:9, and then you had the borders top and bottom, and then it would go back, and that felt, especially in that ginormous screen at Waterloo, it felt really weird, kind of switching between. And I remember kind of when I watched it at home, you didn't have that. It was just the constant times, and that's why I was asking, because it sounds like a really good format. And also, all of the Marvel movies are now going back to IMAX, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all they're having a rerun at IMAX, all of the Marvel movies, and they've kind of IMAXed them all as well. So I was just thinking maybe Disney is looking at this content, and that's kind of how they're going to, because you're right, the Blu-ray that I have right now, I'm guessing, so I bought a Blu-ray of Black Panther, that was IMAXed, but I'm guessing that I would have to buy another copy of Black Panther in order to get IMAX, unless someone like Apple TV jumps on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a physical format you own, then yes, you're going to have to buy a new disc. If it's a digital format like Apple TV, then they may well jump on it a little bit like, they're doing with Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision. The only thing to remember, as I always say with digital formats, is that, they are compressed. So although you are getting Dolby Vision and you are getting Dolby Atmos, you're not getting bit for bit the same as you would get off a Blu-ray. So unless you're going to go with a great system, but an expensive system like Kaleidoscape, which will actually download a bit for bit version of that Blu-ray, then, the best way is always to go with discs. But then, as you say, the problem with physical media is that it won't it won't upgrade or it won't update unless it's you buy a new one, or in the game, in terms of a game and the story I think we've got later on, is unless you've done a massive patch for it. But there's never really those patches for films like there are for games.
I wonder if that's the way it'll go, because you're right. With Apple TV, obviously, I bought, what did I buy? There was a movie that I bought. It might have been Spider-Man. It may have been The Dark Knight, where now, it's kind of been, they released the 4K HDR version, so they gave you that for free, and then they've now got the Dolby Atmos version, so you got that for free, so it's almost like they're just, because that is, I know it's the compressed rate, but they're just constantly improving, and I just love that. I just think that's you can imagine the next one is like, right, we're now doing IMAX, but you have to buy another Apple TV to get that. It's the Apple TV 4K IMAX, and it's just like, I'd buy it. But, and it's just really cool. I love that your industry, the entertainment industry, is not kind of sitting on its laurels. It's continued to just kind of improve and enhance and a lot of people are now, which you absolutely know, and your business is based on that, are preferring to watch movies at home rather than go to the cinema. Because you can get just as good as entertainment at home than you can almost get at the cinema. I'm still an advocate for seeing the big movies at the X Plus, but I love the fact that you don't have to see every movie now at home. At the cinema, you can watch some of it at home, and I love that we're getting closer and closer to that cinema experience.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's I think if you're lucky enough to have a big screen and a surround sound system at home, then the bigger the screen, the more immersive. I don't think you can beat going to the cinema really, unless you're lucky enough to have a dedicated cinema in your own home. Then I'm sorry, I've been into some cinemas which my distributors have, and obviously Dolby and Soho, which I don't care. Any cinema you ever go to of a named brand will never compare to a really good, affordable private cinema. But they're expensive. That is at least a family car price, for most people. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, cinemas are great. They are very immersive. I just don't like sitting with people eating popcorn.
Absolutely.
And people checking their phone.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to come with. It's the fact that, or when they've mixed it so badly. Like I don't go to my local Odeon anymore because I was watching a movie there, and Nicola was struggling to hear it, and she's got fantastic hearing, and I was, but you could hear the guy across the way. Yeah. Eating popcorn, and you could see the person sitting in front with their phone, and I was just, at that point, I was like, no. And that's why I only go to the X Plus or the IMAX now at Blue Water, because you do still get annoying people, but you don't see as many of them as at the X Plus, because it's tiered, and you've got like those recliners. You see less people, and it helps, and because the way it's tiered, it helps with the bag rustling and the popcorn munching, and the person next to you wants to just kind of beat for beat narrate the movie with their family, as we had when we went to, I think, Jurassic World, the last Jurassic one. Really? The last, it was literally, there was a family, and the guy was just going, oh yeah, and then this is that bit, and he was almost kind of telling you about each one. Oh, so they saying this because in the movie it's there, and you're like, oh, I want to punch you so much, and you just don't get that at home. You just don't get that.
No, and you can pause your own movie and go and have a wee or grab another beer, and I think that I mean, I was testament. Sometimes I sat down and watched, as we said last week, I watched Solo at home, and I really enjoyed it. And yes, it's a lot more immersive on a bigger screen, but if you've got a 4K Blu-ray player, you are getting a higher resolution of display at home. You're getting a brighter display on the TV. You're getting potentially a better picture on a TV as well. You're just losing that immersiveness, but you get sucked into that film anyway. So actually, a little bit like when you're playing a game, trying to bring it back around to gaming, when you're playing a game, you do get immersed into it. And actually, whether that's on your Switch or whether that's on your 15-inch MacBook Pro or your 65-inch TV, you sort of forget what you're looking at because you're immersed into the thing. So no, I mean, it's certainly some interesting. I mean, one of the things that Sony also showed, which was quite cool, which was they on their TVs, they've got an acoustic surface now, so the screen is the actual speaker. So
yes.
Yeah,
And they've had that for a while, haven't they?
Yeah,
they've had that for
and Sony, thankfully, or at least the Sony side of the AV side, are listening to like people like us. Because when we said last year to them, when the A1 was out, it would be really good if we could use the screen as a center speaker. So this year with this AF9, what they've now done is they've done that. So they've actually put speaker terminals on the back of the TV set.
Right.
So actually now you can. So for instance, in your movie room, you've got your little KEF speaker sitting under your TV. You could get rid of that little KEF speaker and actually have your TV as that center speaker, and then your left and right and your rear surrounds and your subwoofer. So you don't need to find that little speaker spot underneath the TV for your center speaker. So that's
really cool.
It's a brilliant idea, and for me, you know, for when we do media rooms, it's a phenomenal idea. You know, we're certainly going to use it a bit more. So no, interesting time. But what about yourself? What have you been up to this week?
Kind of nothing as exciting as you. Well, then saying that, but kind of maybe I'm getting ready for my holiday, so I'm kind of getting in holiday mode. So I'm getting ready for our trip to the US in kind of November. So I had to do the cool thing of kind of book our tickets to Universal. So because we're going to Florida first and then going elsewhere afterwards. So I kind of like booked the tickets to Universal, which was quite exciting. Kind of make sure you got the fast passes, because obviously there's a Harry Potter kind of there's two parks with Universal, and there's a train, the Hogwarts Express kind of connects the two. So I had to kind of do that, and it's really hard trying to figure out what kind of ticket you want or what kind of fast pass you want, because with Universal, you know, you don't want to be queuing. Last time we went, when I reached a certain age, we got fast passes, and it kind of ruined us for Universal, because you just basically you kind of join the queue at the front, so you do feel a little bit odd being British, you know, you're like sorry, you know, but then you join the front of the queue, so you just don't have to worry about kind of queuing for 3 hours. Kind of there's a couple of the rides, I think, like the Hogwarts, which is kind of the queue is all part of the experience, so you still kind of have to do that. But yeah, so it was really cool. So I started booking that. I need to book some car hire while I'm there in a couple of states. And I also need to still book Disney, but it's kind of starting to become real, which is really cool. So we kind of put our holiday off so far into the year. It's like November that we're just like, I'm ready for my holiday already. I've still got 28 days to go, not counting. But I'm just so ready for it. So we just kind of, but I was quite excited when I booked it. It was kind of one of those things where you're kind of going through, you're booking it, you kind of have that moment like, how much? And then you kind of, but then when you press like, submit or complete your purchase, you then just get kind of this excited euphoria that you're kind of going to go back to Universal, and it was just so I'm really looking forward to it, because there's quite a few new rides since the last time we went, so it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, didn't you do when you away Christmas last year? Wasn't it? Was it Christmas last year?
Yeah, we went to San Fran last year for Christmas, so we're kind of moving down the year. So last year we went away in December. This year we're going away in November. So and then next year we're going away in October. So we are actually so in 2020 we'll have a decent summer holiday, and we'll go on holiday in September.
Yeah, so. as a parent, just avoid August, because it gets stupidly expensive when you have to take your child on holiday in the school holidays.
Yes.
So just avoid those ones.
Exactly that. You know, that's the kind of one of the only plus size about not having a child, is that we can go on a Wednesday and we can go whenever we want. Yeah. So we can kind of avoid all of those kind of things. So yeah, though it does make travel kind of a lot easier. And then, so I kind of did that, getting ready for that. And then also I watched for the second time, because the first time I couldn't get my head around it. But I watched a movie called Mandy. And the movie called Mandy with Nick Cage. And it is just absolutely bonkers. It is a movie where Nick Cage goes full Nick Cage halfway through this movie. And it is just, it's one of these movies where I'm watching it and I just can't get my head around it. The first time I watched it, it's really oddly shot. Now, the guy who directed it, is Panos Cosmatos, and he basically directed another movie called Tombstone, way back when. But this movie is just bizarre. It's kind of it's set in 1983, and it just reminds me of like a really long, lengthy rock video. But like Nick Cage and his wife, they basically, or his girlfriend, they basically live up in the woods, and he's a lumberjack. And then what happens after that is that there's basically this weird biker gang, or this weird kind of gang. They come in and they kind of it's led by the main kind of guy of this gang. The leader of this gang is like an old rock star, and he basically wants Nicolas Cage's girlfriend, wife, and basically the gang go and get him, and then the rest get her, and then the rest of the movie is just Nick Cage getting revenge on this rest of this gang, and it is violent, it's weird, it's creepy, and it's full Nick Cage, and it is just, you know when you're watching, have you ever seen Face Off?
Yes. Oh, one of my favourite films. I love that film.
Yeah, right at the start where he's pretended to be a priest, and he kind of does that Nick Cage face.
Yeah.
It's like that times 10. It just, even Nick Cage goes beyond Nick Cage, and it is just bizarre. But the problem was, I watched it again. I just sat in bed watching it on my iPad, and it was one of those ones where, where you kind of, you go, I can't watch this on my iPad. I need to watch this on a big screen. You almost kind of want to go, I want to stop, go down to the movie room, and then watch it there, because it is just bonkers, but incredibly. Yeah, it's kind of one of those movies where it's just kind of one of those movies where you just have to see, it's just really, it's very violent. I wouldn't show it to Nicola. I don't think she'd be interested in it. But it's just absolutely bonkers. It's just the way that he gets revenge on it's just, oh my God, it's just so weird. It's so weird. But it was really cool. So good. I watched it twice.
Yeah, I just looked on IMDb, and it looks quite an interesting little movie, actually. But I just only saw the clips of it, and like the static clips. But
yes.
But yeah, no, I like Nick Cage, and I think some of the films he's done are a bit Marmite, and then and some of the films he's done are brilliant. But he's done so many films. I think it's every year you go on your Apple TV and you look at trailers for movies that are coming up, and there's every time I go on there's another Nicolas Cage film with him in, and I'm like, okay, he's done another film. It's like, blimey, how many films does the man can do in 1 year? But I'll definitely have to watch that one. What did you do? What was that on Apple TV? Because it's a new film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brand. And then kind of Nick Cage segue. Nick Cage segue was, I was watching Teen Titans Go to the Movie, complete parallel to Maddie. This is like animated, and again, I had, if you took a picture of my face when I was watching Mandy and watching Teen Titans Go to the Movie, I had the same perplexed look on my face, because it's just like, what the hell is this movie? But the cool thing about that, and the Nick Cage segue, was Nick Cage was Superman.
Oh, really?
Which was awesome. So I was like, it got a Superman at the start, spoiler alert, Superman at the start, and I was just like, that's Nick Cage. So I quickly grabbed my phone, IMDb, and it was Nick Cage is Superman in Teen Titans Go to the Movie, and I was just like, that is awesome. So, especially because, I don't know if you've ever seen, there was a documentary, a fantastic documentary, which was chronicling when Tim Burton was going to, after he did the Batman movies, his next movie was going to be Superman. Okay. And so he basically created a Superman, and so he had a Superman film in the making, and it was with one of the guys who wrote Wild Wild West as well. And there are pictures of Nick Cage being Superman. So Nick Cage is he's got long hair, he's got a black suit on, and the black suit had so many lights on it, so many LED lights. It was just, honestly, if you imagine what a Tim Burton Superman would be like, it's, again, 10 times more Nick Cage than that. And so to kind of see him be Superman, or hear him be Superman, it was really quite cool, and it was quite a nice little kind of nerdy nod to that movie and to that documentary.
Yeah, that's an interesting That's an interesting thought, that is. I'm just literally, oh my God, yeah, I'm just searching this on my phone now, because I can't picture that. But yeah, I'm just bringing it up on my phone, and yeah. Yeah,
it's absolutely.
I'm not sure how I feel about this image.
It's absolutely bizarre. The documentary is amazing. I kickstarted the documentary, so I backed it on Kickstarter, and because I just needed this documentary to be made so I could watch it, and it was just literally as so. But you see proper screen tests of Nick Cage in this outfit, and it was going to just rewrite what we think of Superman. It would have been an awful movie, but it's kind of one of those ones where you go, I really wish I'd seen this movie. But they stopped it from being made.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
but anyway, we are a gaming podcast, so let's start talking about movies and let's talk about games. Stu, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I think you'll probably guess. I don't think I've really got to say the title, but
the road driving simulator.
Yeah, a road driving simulator. Yes. I've just been caning the roads in Forza, really. Just after the pod last week, I jumped back on, and I mean, it's one of those things where I was looking at the pod tonight thinking, I can't just wax lyrical about Forza, but it is literally the only thing I'm playing. I mean, I haven't had a huge amount of time, but when I have had some time, I mean, I can't think. I think it was Saturday. I think it was Saturday morning. I had a bit of a. I think I had to go and do a job locally, very quickly. And came back. My daughter would dances on Saturday, so I switched on the Xbox, and I played for about 3 hours. But the rest of it has been, dipping in, apart from some other sessions which we'll get onto, but dipping in here and there, and nothing has drawn me away from it. I mean, I listen to podcasts on a daily basis, and everybody's talking about Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed sounds awesome, and I really want to play it. But at the moment, I'm thinking, I'm in Spider-Man, and not even Spider-Man is drawing me away from Forza Horizon at a minute, because it's itching. Like as I said earlier, I think it was after the pod last week. I poured myself a beer, switched on the Xbox, sat and drove some roads for 30 minutes. Just looking at the scenery. But it's just that game you can pick up and just, I fancy to. I mean, literally, as I was waiting for you to call me pod, I thought, hold on a second, it's season change. So I switched on the Xbox. It's now changed to winter. I looked at the Forza Fon and then looked at, where you can order, how you get your extra Forza points for the week. And so went off and bought an off-roader. Bought myself a Mercedes G-Wagon. And then found, which sheep will like, James will like, I found a Jurassic Park livery that goes over it, so it makes it look like one of the vehicles from the original Jurassic Park. And then went off and just done a couple of countryside, cross country races. To where I bought my other car, which was the Lamborghini. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the surname, the 4x4, and which I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to surprise you next time we play online, but I found a Rogue One livery for it, so I've now got a Star Wars Rogue One livery for my Lamborghini. But it's what I love, I thought the other. I mean, what I was going to do last night, if we didn't end up playing online, which we'll get onto, but I just thought, I forgot that the trailer side was the stunt driver side was at a storyline. I forgot about that, and I thought, I might just go and cane that for a few hours. So I think I'm just loving it graphically, fun wise. The fact that I can just jump in and jump out, and just at the moment the limited time I've had in gaming in the last 7 days has just meant that I've just picked up the controller and just played some Forza. So I point in case before I was waiting to pod tonight. So what about yourself? I know you've been playing it. So how you been finding it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely in love with it. It's just, I think for me, I got to the LA Racer or the La Racer, and which is a story mode, which basically takes you through the top 10 best racing games. So it kind of goes through. There's a car that looks like Crazy taxi.
I saw that.
You know, they have a Trans Am, they have a Lamborghini. You know, there's just, and it basically just says this game is for Outrun, and then you have the game for Outrun. Wasn't happy with number one, and I'll just leave that there. I wasn't happy with their number one choice. I thought it was a bit of a cop out.
Okay.
But the rest of it was awesome. I was just like, I loved it. Now, the only thing that I do kind of get stuck on, and I might have to kind of have a chat with you, with you guys, with you and like kind of Steve, and you can show me, it's just that I still have trouble drifting. I have trouble drifting. I can't. And so one of these LA racers or La Racers things was you go to Edinburgh, and it was for Project Gotham Racing.
Okay.
So Project Gotham Racing, you had a Ferrari, it was the cover car for that, and then you had to race to Scotland to Edinburgh. So race to Edinburgh, and that was fantastic. And then it was like, right, now you've got to get 25,000 skill points in 2 minutes.
Ooh.
And I struggled to get it. And then in the end, I managed to get it, and I got like 27,500. And I was like, but what I found myself doing was like wrecking things really rather than anything else. So I was like, right, I need to, because there are, in your Forza life, there's a drifting thing where you got to get to level 10. I said, I'm going to have a chat with the guys and just kind of just understand how you drift properly, how you kind of really get those big scores.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think there's a few times when, in the previous game as well, the drifting side of it I've found hard. And I know they've actually brought some drifting cars into this one. But obviously from the sounds of it, with that format, you have to drive Ferrari. You can't put it over to sort of like a Toyota Supra, you know, which is spec'd up for drifting. No, I mean, it's probably the harder one that I find, but no, I mean, it's achievable. I think you just got to carry on plugging away, but it is frustrating. It's the one I look at and go, I'll leave that till later. I mean, I got to level 10 on street racing, road racing, I think it is. Got to level 10 on that. I think because winter's jumped in now, I think I might just do my cross country and my off roading now. Do that and unlock the points for that for the next week until it goes to spring, because we haven't had spring yet, have we? So it goes to spring. Okay. But you know, I'm just loving it. You know, drove in tonight. The scenery's changed. The HDR's popping. The 4K is looking gorgeous, and I'm just finding it's just brilliant. And of course, you know, we jumped onto the car club, not car club anymore, but the car club. The other night, was it Sunday night? Wasn't it? We jumped in. Yeah, it was Sunday. Yeah. So the first one, the inaugural Lost Spark Car Club was Sunday night, and that was it was great fun. I really enjoyed it because I think we played again last night as well, so we had quite a few people playing last night. But on Sunday, I got to kind of always be the DM. Yeah. You know, in kind of James's term, I was the DM. So I got to set, and I really do like the way that they've done this, because before it was right. Okay, we're going to choose an adventure, and it kind of almost randomed it, didn't it? It was kind of, you got to vote at the end of a race. You got to vote which you wanted to do, whether you wanted to do all cross country, a bit of a mixture, or all just games, all playground games. Where this way, with the Forza Horizon 4, with the new Forza, what you actually get to do is you get to set yourself up to 5 races, and then you get to say, right, okay, we're going to do this race, and then the next race is here. So obviously in between races you get that point to point race as well, and then you can say, right, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to set the time of day. So you get to set the season for the entire adventure. But then when you get to each one of these races, you actually then get to set the time of day and also the weather conditions as well, and also the what level you want the cars to be. And I just really enjoyed it. You know, doing that on Sunday, it was almost like you're like, and it kind of, you get that same kick as a DM where you're like, right, what mischief can I get up to? What can I do? So I'm like, right, we're going to do Infected, and it's going to be morning, and it's going to be misty, which I think is the only way to play Infected now. I think we need to write that as a rule, that whenever we do Infected, it always has to be in the quarry. Definitely in the quarry. Definitely in the quarry.
In the quarry, in the morning. And then, I can't believe it, we set it for 5 minutes, and Steve managed to stay uninfected for like 5 minutes. It was like everyone was just chasing him, and he was just slimy little, you know, it was just, but one of the things I think, and the biggest thing I like about the infected change, is now, when you've been tagged by someone on the opposite team, you can then just go and bump a teammate, and then you're kind of healed, and then you're back, so you're back in the race again. And I just think that kind of adds an extra fun element to it. They really did kind of think about what they needed to do, and I really enjoyed that.
I think that last point that you made is the tagline for this game, where it's like you handbrake turning with an anchor in Sea of Thieves. This one with the immortal Steve tag me. I'm here, just come and hit me from behind, is all I kept on hearing the last few nights. But yeah, I mean, I think that night I think there was 5 or 6 of us on, 7 maybe. Last night, I think we got up to like 12 at some point, 11 or 12 or something like that, wasn't it? I mean, we had so many people last night, and it's just so enjoyable. I mean, Infected was always enjoyable, but now it is. I mean, in the Quarry, it is an absolute hoot. I love it. It is so much fun, and as you touched on just a second ago, I think. What's good, I forgot about you voting on what we did before, but what I love about this is you had like 9 sessions last night, and I love the fact that now when you finish your race, you race to the checkpoint. Now, that brings up 2 fun elements. One is Anthony doesn't realise we're playing a checkpoint game, so he goes off straight, and you're going, Andy, where are you going? Oh, it's not a race to point. No, you got to go through a checkpoint. Yeah. And about three people have followed him. So all of a sudden you just see these Lamborghinis handbrake turning and coming straight across you to hit a checkpoint. And then the other one is when you're looking at the little graphic down in the bottom left, I think, the map, you just see, you can see in the distance, sometimes you can see the distance where the checkpoint is. So you don't follow the road because like you're in a warthog or something like that. And you absolutely cane it. And you just see the red or the blues because in this one you're in the teams of red and blue. And you see this little dot in front of you, and all of a sudden, these dots are all moving, and all of a sudden you see the dot you're chasing just stop, and then all you hear is, tree! Bugger! House! And then just complete carnage happens because everybody, I think we played last night and I was following Wee Man, and we went up the side of this stupidly steep hill. I think some people decided to go round it, and me and Wee Man decided to go up it. So he went up in his Peugeot, I think it was, and I went up in my Warthog, and literally took off and face planted it straight into the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
But it was too late for me to see Wee Man crashing and the pain and anxiety in his voice that I just ended up slamming into the wall next to him. And because we were both 1 and 2, it was quickly put your vehicle into reverse, try not to wheel spin, and quickly race to the start finish line. But it's just great because now racing to the races is a race, and it's so much fun. I mean, last night it was just, it was belly giggling, real, just everybody, so much fun. And I said just a minute ago before the pod started, I nearly didn't jump in last night because I'd had a hard day at work, didn't eat dinner till, I think it was probably gone 8 o'clock, sat down and watched some TV with the wife, and I wasn't going to jump in, but I switched the Xbox on, saw that everybody was online, and I'm like, let's jump in. And I'm so glad I did because, anybody out there who's got Forza Horizon and needs to jump onto the club and needs to come and join us on a Sunday night, or keep your eyes open. We usually put it out on Twitter or whatever on the club, because until you've played the game with a group of grown men giggling and laughing like girls, it's phenomenal. It's such a good game. Hats off to Playground.
Yeah, it was really funny because like last week, obviously we spoke a lot about the single player game and we were both just kind of enjoying soaking it up. But this week it's definitely kind of, those 2 sessions just really did just kind of hit home kind of why I gave Forza Horizon 3, my game of the year a couple of years ago. And it was because of like nights like that, where for me, I've always said on the pod that Forza has always been a very kind of a solitary thing. I've played it, I've talked to people about it, listened to a podcast, but it was the Forza Horizon 3 that introduced me to like multiplayer, and it was so much fun last night. It was just you do just come away, which is really hard because it's about 11 o'clock, you come away kind of hyper, and now you got to go to sleep, and it was really good. And like I say, it's just great fun, kind of just racing around, kind of seeing all those people with their Gamers of Lost Spark car club. We had a friend of the show, Ian, in. He jumped in as well. He kind of jumped in, and I was saying to him today that if he wants to hear a lot of grown men shouting and swearing at each other, then join the party. Because join the party chat, because that's just a thing to behold. And the thing I love about it is that when we're all concentrating, so when it gets serious, everybody goes
so quiet.
Yeah, and then all you can hear is Wee Man's horn, which is just like it's kind of like one of those whistles that's like and like this, and it makes me laugh every time. He posted a video after, like, when we kind of was all abluting and getting ready to go to bed, and he posted a video, and all you heard was like, just see Wee Man driving these Peugeot. He launches himself off a ramp, and then you just hear like that, and it just makes me laugh so much. I just love it. So yeah, though it was really good fun. Like I say, I'm terrible at it when I'm playing multiplayer. I'm always at the back, but I'm always at the back having a bloody laugh, and it's really good fun.
And I think wrapping up on the Forza stuff, I think I heard someone sound up, I can't think what podcast it will stay, but driving back today I was listening to a podcast, and I think what's good about Forza Horizon 4 is I think that finally the Horizon series has been taken as a serious game, because it was always like, oh, that's the fun throwaway element, that other game, that game from the motorsport one, the more professional Turn 10 one. And I think what, Playground have done with, Forza Horizon 3 was phenomenal and, groundbreaking. But I think, whether it's because of Game Pass, I don't know, but I think because of Game Pass, people are playing this who wouldn't necessarily have played it, and I think that is now showing people that actually the Horizon series is a different series, a different game from Motorsport, and I think that again, hats off to Playground. I think they've just made a brilliant single player game that if you've got 5 or 10 minutes you can jump into, or if you've got a whole evening with your mates and you want a really good laugh, you can just fire your Xbox up, crack open some beers, and just have a really good time.
Absolutely. I mean, we might as well just kind of attack one of our news items now while we're talking about it, because you're right. It's been taken seriously, and the uptake, because it's on Game Pass, has really kind of taken off. Playground Games announced this week that they have had over 2 million drivers, so 2 million users have logged on to Forza Horizon now, and that's like in its first week, which is a fantastic figure, and what they said was the stats that they released was more than 4.6 million hours of Forza Horizon gameplay have been watched across Mixer, Twitch and YouTube. Players have logged more than 822 million miles. Woo! So that's a lot of roads, Stu. The community has settled in quite nicely, living the Horizon life by purchasing more than 4.1 million properties and owning 74.4 million cars, and more than 377.7 million roads have been discovered.
And one man with a really good horn.
Yes, and Wee Man's got a really good horn, and you still can't find those 2 roads. So it's
Whatever.
Just, I mean, that is just, I mean, I just think that is just incredible, and obviously Game Pass goes a bit to that, but also this game is getting good press, and you're absolutely spot on. More people are paying attention to it because of Game Pass, and this just shows Phil's vision, what the Game Pass is a really, I mean, if you was just buying an Xbox now, all you would need would be Game Pass, unless you wanted to play the third party, so you obviously do that, but you just buy Game Pass, you get all those first party titles, and then some. We were talking last week and the week before about the new ones that came into October, and it is just showing that, with this, Sea of Thieves, and all of the other stuff that we're going to get, Crackdown later, I'm hoping that maybe Crackdown gets some of that excitement as well, if, when that comes out, because it's great that these games are available, and if they suddenly pop in and go, oh, this is new on Game Pass, why wouldn't you jump in and then suddenly get hooked and addicted on Forza Horizon 4?
Well, no, I spoke to a friend of mine, Steve, today. Shout out to Steve Carter, his name. We've got another Steve Carter. Yes. Shout out to Steve. I said to him today, he said, oh, what have you been playing? And I said, oh, I've been playing Forza Horizon. And he's a bit more of a PS person, but he's got an Xbox One I think he's got an X or an S. I can't remember now, but he's got one of the newer Xboxes. And he said, "Oh, how much is it?" I said, "Well, it's Game Pass." And Simon, who works with me, I said the same. I said, "Are you playing it?" And I said, "Look, it's Game Pass." I said, "You pay your $7.99, I think. You pay your $7.99 a month, and you've got Sea of Thieves, which is a phenomenal game, and you've got Forza Horizon. And actually, even if you just play those two games over the whole year, your quid's in." So, just pay for your Game Pass, and they say, as Microsoft has said with their first party commitment to it, and with all the studios that they've been purchasing, and hopefully the games of the future, I just think it's a great way to. I mean, so we both bought the Ultimate Pack because we wanted to get early and wanted to get the cars and wanted to maybe show our support a bit more for the game. But I think for being a Game Pass subscriber and just going, what am I going to play today? I really do think with EA Access, with Game Pass, and with Games with Gold. Actually, you can just buy an Xbox for yourself or your family for Christmas, and you don't really need to buy that big, AAA £65 title. You just buy a couple of subscriptions, which don't equate to anything more than maybe £100-150 a year. So get two games, and you've got so much content. I'm playing FIFA 18 at the moment. I know it's FIFA 19 at the moment, but I don't want to pay for FIFA because I don't play the Ultimate Team. I don't get into it that much. Actually, I really enjoy the storyline in FIFA. So, as an EA Access subscriber, I just want to play the storyline. So I just wait till it comes on EA Access or it gets really cheap, and then that's when I'll play it. And I think that's what's great. I've pre-ordered Red Dead. I didn't think I was going to play it, but I've pre-ordered it as a physical copy, and I think it gives you so much choice now.
It really does. I just think you're absolutely spot on. As well as like Sea of Thieves and Forza, you've got Halo, you have Master Chief Collection and Halo 5, you've got Gears of War, you've got all of this stuff. If you were new to Xbox or you bought an Xbox as your second or third console, then all you need is Game Pass. If you're a PlayStation player, you want to play there for the exclusives, and they have some fantastic exclusives over there, but you wanted to play all your third-party stuff there because that's where your friends are, so that's where you want to play your Call of Duties, Assassin's Creed, then you buy an Xbox and just Game Pass it, and that's all you need, and that is all you need because it's just absolutely fantastic. It's
brilliant. So apart from Forza, I can see on the list you've been playing two games which could be more maritable, could be more arguing between the good lady wife. So what else have you been playing this week?
Oh, there's definitely been some raised voices. Nice segue. There's definitely been some raised voices this week in the Chesson household. Overcooked 2 is back.
Yay.
This week or last week we got Overcooked 2. They released there was an update for it which gave everybody New Game Plus. So you got your New Game Plus which now includes a 4th star. And I think we all maybe made a noise just a little bit too loud and told the guys that it was too easy because my God, it's so hard now. It is just, they have made it so hard. So even the very first level, even like World 1, Level 1, you look at it. So when you it was so funny, like Nicola was playing on her own and she was like, the 4th star's here, and I joined in, and then suddenly the figure that you have to get for the 4th star just doubled. And we're like, oh my God. But, so that's really good. And we haven't really delved too deep into that because along with this New Game Plus came some DLC, some Surf and Turf DLC, which is, at the same time, it's 3 stars, and I think Nicola has, while I was playing Forza last night, Nicola was playing single player, and she's finished the DLC on her own, which I don't know how she does it. She's finished that, and they said now that there's a 4th star as well, because the 3rd star was testing our marriage. It really was. This was like back to original Overcooked. It's gone to a beach scene, you've got smoothies, you've got a barbecue, there's a barbecue going, which takes an age to cook, but a little kind of tip, there is like a blower, like a kind of a fan,
like a leaf blower kind of thing.
No, like a concertina.
Oh, okay, yeah,
like
yes,
when
I know what you mean.
Yeah, one of those. There's kind of one of those in one of the levels, and we're not sure if it was in the other levels, but we just didn't see it. And that makes the barbecue go quicker because you fan the flames. Yeah, and then you stoke the flames. But so we were doing, there's smoothies, there's cakes of steel, and there was a barbecue. And it is just, they've really played around with the levels. There's one level, so you're on the beach, it's all surf and turf, so it's all beach, and you're on the level. And there was just, so Nicola had some stuff there, I had some stuff on the other side of this. We were both like kind of on it in our own sides. We were like, this is easy. We've just got to do the barbecue. And then suddenly, loads of old characters just like congoring through the level, and it stops you getting where you need to go. So it was just, honestly, it was just so much fun. But it's really nice. As much as I enjoyed Overcooked 2 when it came out, it's really nice. And this sounds almost sadistic because it's really nice having to repeat the level and actually seeing yourself get better in the level, and and having the wife shout at you, it's really good. Like, it's back to that old Overcooked where she kind of puts the controller down, and Nicola just looks at me and says, "Okay, what did you do wrong? What can we?" I'm just like, "What about you? It's you." But it's always me. It's always me. So yeah, though, it's just so much fun. So I just sit there chuckling. Nicola gets like proper angry at me, but I just can't help but laugh at her.
Which winds her up even more.
Exactly, because she's adorable when she's doing it. So it's just so much fun, and she's just there getting really excited, really angry at me for not kind of like doing what I'm supposed to be doing properly. And but like I say, right now, and it's really funny actually because my iPad has just showed up I forgot to put it in my iPad in flight mode, and I've just seen that Nicola's currently logged in as Xbox as me, and she's getting me Chivos for the because they still haven't fixed. Ghost Town Games still haven't fixed the fact that if two people are logged in, only the main player gets the achievements. And that just drives me bonkers. So I just said to Nicola before I was podding, I was like, "What are you doing this evening while I'm podding?" And she was like, "No, nothing much. I might just do this." I was like, "Do you fancy playing Overcooked as me and get me all the achievements?" And I've just seen one pop. So she's unlocked 2 worlds, I think, in an hour. She's already done them. So I don't know how she does it. I really don't, because I'm all fingers and thumbs on my own on that.
Can you co-op? Because you've got 2 Xboxes, could you play it on the big TV and the small TV via, not local co-op, but by Xbox Live co-op, play it and then unlock the achievements that way, or can't you do that? I'm not sure.
You can't do that in the story mode. Okay. You can do that in the arcade mode and the versus mode. Because what we did was, once we'd done that, once we unlocked all the stars in the campaign, we then did that. So I basically just logged into the other Xbox and then just left that running and was looking at the big TV, because it's obviously one screen, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. So we did that, and then that's how I got all of the arcade and the versus achievements.
Yeah, because I think I got the achievement for beating someone, I think it was, by just handing the controller to Molly, who's never played the game before, who is 7 years old, and just going, "Do you want to play this?" And she was so ecstatic to play it that I just beat her hands down like 10-0, whatever it was, and unlocked the achievement. So yes, I'm a really bad father. But then I also did the I think it was the throwing so many bits across the room, and as she's running around trying to do stuff, I'm just throwing food at her, because I'm like,
that's so cool.
She's I mean, this is I love her dearly. This is the girl who played Plants vs Zombies, I think it is, and if you played Plants vs Zombies, you can roll yourself into a ball and you can roll quicker to where you need to go. She said to me one day, she said, "Oh, Daddy, can I play a game on your Xbox?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course you can." So I had just happened to download it because it was on EA Access, I think, and she spent 45 minutes just rolled up as a ball, rolling around the level, not doing anything she needed to do, but she was perfectly happily doing that. So I sort of thought, I can use this as an achievement hunter at some point. She's happily doing stuff, and as long as I can just throw food at her, she'll find it entertainment, and I'll unlock some achievements. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. You should get the one where she gets to wash up, because she has to, so you could do the level and just like wash up. But Overcooked 2, Surf and Turf DLC. I hope we get even more DLC, because they really did kind of nail it. Like I say, they've definitely tweaked that difficulty setting. So I guess be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
I guess, because when it first came out, that was the one thing I was saying. I was like, it's a little bit too easy. But now I'm just like, no, it's really hard now. So, but it's good fun. So that was Overcooked 2 Surf and Turf. And then the last game that we played on Friday was Super Mario Party. Okay. So got Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch. So it was really hard, actually, because Nicola wanted to play more Overcooked. I think Overcooked had only been out a day. And I said, look, I really want to play a Mario Party. Let's play. So we played a 20 round game of Mario Party, which was great fun. I played it. James and I were chatting after EGX, and I played it at EGX. But this was really cool. It was really good. Found that you can only play it with a single Joy-Con, so you can't play the game. You can't play the game kind of handheld mode, or with a Pro controller. You can only play it with the game docked and with the Joy-Cons detached, because you throughout the game with all the mini games, you are changing the way that you hold the Joy-Con.
Okay.
So it could be that you're holding it flat, you're holding it at the side, you're shaking it, you're casting it. You're doing all this sort of stuff, so I can see why you can't do it handheld, but it very much is like, obviously you could take the Joy-Cons off and just stand the Switch up. You don't have to dock it. You could just put it on the stand and play it on a table. But it's best with everybody around a big TV and then all of those kind of Joy-Cons. But we had a game. Nicola won, surprisingly. We had a game. I came last, I think. We had a game, and it was really good fun. It was really kind of back to kind of old kind of Mario Party, where you kind of go around the board, you play those mini games, and at the end, you get awarded kind of extra stars for how many coins you've collected, how many mini games you've won. So it really does just kind of keep you on your toes, trying to kind of win all the way through, because there's extras coming. But it looks fantastic, and so far the little mini games are really good fun. It also has some other games in there you can play. All of the games are unlocked once you unlock the mini game mode. And also there was a really cool little baseball game as well.
Okay.
Excuse me. There was a really cool baseball game as well, which was really good fun. And that was just like kind of knocking it around, and so we kind of had a quick game of that, and we just kind of played it for a whole evening. But definitely want to go back once we've got through Overcooked. Want to go back and just kind of play some more. But I'm liking it so far.
I saw an advert on TV where they laid two switches down next to each other, and you played the game over two switches. I mean, I'm not sure what that was about, but that looked quite interesting, as an out and about sort of way to play the game. So I think it's almost tapping into that. It's tapping into our own market. We know with what made the Wii so successful, and that it sounds like that is maybe the game that what was it? 1, 2, 3 Switch was the game that came out initially. That maybe should have been, and it will be interesting this Christmas to see, how many Switch owners have that, and and do that in the in their lounges after Christmas dinner this year, and things like that. So again, it's what the Switch has been great at, is just bringing in that different type of multiplayer game, different ways to play, and I think hats off. I'll have to download it and have a look.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I say, there is obviously the board. The board kind of slows it down somewhat. Slows the game down, because then you've just got the board mechanics after every roll. After every game, you have to roll the dice. They have introduced the element where you can get a buddy. You can get like another character. So I had Mario and Waluigi, and Waluigi gives you an extra dice roll and some things like that. So which is really cool. But I think you're absolutely spot on. Come Christmas, that mini game mode where you can just pick 4, 6, 8, 12 mini games and just play that. I think that's going to be great fun. Because I think it scores you as well. Right. So you go, right, we're going to play 10 of those, and it's like the first one to 7, and it's just that sort of stuff. And you can play that game without having the board mechanic as well.
Yeah, I think that, I can remember Christmas of days gone past where, when the Wii came out, and, and I took my Wii over to my mum and dad's, and you just had, myself, Kate, my mum and dad, my brother, his wife, Nan, everybody was just playing tennis, or it was just a device that everybody could just enjoy, and it wasn't hard to understand, like a first person shooter, or even sort of Forza Horizon might be to some people. What have I got to do? You've just got to take this and do this. Simple. And I think that it's certainly could well be a system seller over Christmas if they package it up or something like that. That could get some people involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see kind of like playing this with my family over the Christmas Christmas. Same as you with the Wii. I remember playing with my dad. My mum and dad came over to us when we was in Tunbridge Wells. We were over the other side, and I showed him what it was, and we were playing bowling. And I remember my dad come running up to the TV, and I was so scared of my TV. At that point, I think I had their big old Panasonic 3D TV, and my dad's running up to his TV, but then he drops to one knee as he bowls. Which was okay, but we were living in a top floor apartment in Tunbridge Wells, and I was just like, I had to go and apologise to the neighbours the next day. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. It's my fault. But, the great thing about it was, I think a week or week and a half later, before New Year's, I rang my mum up and they bought one. They bought one. They went, we bought one of those things. We're playing tennis and golf. And I went up to my parents after that, I think for my birthday. And my dad's like, right, come on, let's have a game of golf. Because he'd already kind of, he'd figured it out, knew how to do top spin and all this sort of stuff. So we were playing golf. Instead of going out to a golf course, we were playing the Wii golf, and it was a good time. It was just really cool to just see that. And I just feel that Super Mario Party can kind of bring back some of that as well, because I think there's some really great fun bonkers mini games in Super Mario Party.
Excellent. No, definitely. I think that's a definite download that is going to be after we finish.
Excellent stuff. So let's jump into the news section. But before we start, don't forget you can rate, review and subscribe to this very podcast for free on iTunes, YouTube and also now Spotify. We're now on Spotify, so which I'm quite happy and excited about. We're on Spotify, Stu. It's cool. So in this week's news section, Xbox announced xCloud, PlayStation announces PS5, kind of, PSN changes, name changes, kind of, and also we have lots more kind of news. So Stu, first piece of news is with you.
Yeah, thanks. So the first one is Xbox. I think we all watched E3 last year where Phil sort of announced that they were working on the next gen consoles and they were going to be doing things maybe a bit differently. And there's been rumours about Project Scala and, is it a cloud streaming service and is it, a dedicated hardcore box? So I noticed I've got the article from the Telegraph, but I know it's been over most of the papers. But yeah, basically Xbox One games head to mobile as Microsoft announced xCloud streaming service. So reading from the article, Microsoft has announced Project xCloud, a state-of-the-art streaming service that aims to bring console gaming quality to video games to such devices as mobiles and tablets. The streaming service will start public trials in 2019 and will allow gamers to stream any Xbox One games such as Forza and Halo on any device. This could develop. I'll get it out in a minute. This could allow developers to scale as access with no additional work. Microsoft's intentions of building cloud streaming was revealed at E3, as I just said, by boss Phil Spencer, announcing Microsoft engineers working on the solution to bring games mobile. I mean, I watched the video for this, and I think the video was amazing, and it sort of flashed up, and I didn't really pay much attention to it, and then I watched it, and it's a 3.5 minute video, I think, and it just looks phenomenal. I mean, Microsoft are going to use the Azure cloud platform, which is a massive bonus for the gaming side of it, because the Azure platform is a really powerful cloud computing service. If anybody doesn't know it, it's worldwide. Microsoft have server farms and etc. worldwide, and the best thing for me about the video was they showed you this little graphic of basically they've invented this thing called the Blade, and in AV terms it's 1U rack size by the looks of it, but it's 4 Xboxes stripped out and put in a rack mountable server unit. And I just looked at this thing and I just think, forget about the server farm. I want one of those for my house so people can play 4 Xboxes in my house. I don't know when I'd ever use that, but it just looks brilliant. And I mean, and they were doing hands-on with people. I don't know who they were. They might have been Microsoft employees who were showing Forza Horizon 4 being played on an iPhone connected via Bluetooth to an Xbox controller. And for me, this is just, I mean, I think it was last week we touched on the Google side of it, which I know a few people have tried that in America. And I think some of the gaming websites have got some hands on, because I think that went live over last weekend. A few people got to play it. But for me, a bit like you really, before the Xbox came out, I've kept on looking at gaming PCs, but not towers, because I haven't got room for a tower. But maybe I have to use a PC for a lot of programming. I'm not a PC person after that. I'm a Mac person. But this, for me, enables those times when I hopefully want to sit at home and play on my Xbox and get full fidelity graphics. I get that. But then if I'm, in a travel lodge, other hotels exist, but in a travel lodge overnight, and I just want to play some Forza, I can remember trying to download Forza Horizon 3 on my Surface Book Pro. It would not play. It would not. It took ages to download, and it just would not play. Couldn't handle it. So if we can do this on portable devices, and we can do this on tablets, and we can do this on, other devices as well as our Xboxes, then Play Anywhere actually really does become Play Anywhere now. What do you think? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a tech nerd point of view, I just think this is fantastic. The same as you, when you saw those 4 Xboxes being seated into that kind of just one unit, it was just so lovely. And it just had the little Xbox logo on it, and it was just really interesting to see that kind of little device that they had that plugged into an Xbox controller. You clicked your phone into that, and then they were playing Forza. And I just feel that that's just so much fun, because it when I go on holiday, I can still play my Xbox games. And obviously with cloud, it syncs it, and you can just do all of that sort of stuff. And with Wi-Fi and with networks getting better as well, the ability to have the strength that we need, the speed that we need, becomes more and more available. So as that kind of tech improves, because obviously with all of this streaming tech, we need networks to improve. Yeah. We need to be able to, right now, when I'm going from Cannon Street to Tunbridge Wells, I barely have a signal. I can't watch first world problems, but I can't watch the Apple conference on that train. Even now that they've fitted it with Wi-Fi, there's so many people on that train trying to grab the Wi-Fi that you can't get anything. So if that's improving, I love playing my Switch on the train. So being able to play Forza Horizon and just kind of rack up some roads or find some boards when I'm playing Forza Horizon 5, I love that idea. I just think it's great. Put a controller in your bag and off you go. Obviously, there are some games, as you said, and what we were talking about earlier about cinema versus cinema and home. There's some games that I want to play 4K HDR on a big old TV with surround sound for that full immersion. Yeah. Playing Sea of Thieves, playing Gears of War is amazing when you've got the big TV and surround sound. That's kind of how you are fully immersed. But playing some of the smaller games, some of the indie games, or even some games like the Forza, it would just be fantastic being able to play it wherever I am. So I just think it's never going to replace. We've talked about it time and time again, and for years on this podcast, that we're getting to where I always wanted consoles to be, which is 4K, HDR, and beyond, and we've still got a way to go. And the next round of consoles will get us there. Will get us 60 frames a second, and do all of that. But for a stopgap or for a while you're about, I absolutely love this, and I think it was Phil who was saying at E3, by doing this, by being able to play it on a phone, being able to play it on a browser, do whatever you want to do, it opens the doors to so many more players. Because we've always said on the pod that we're privileged, and I don't take it for granted that I can play all of those consoles. I can play that. But for some people, the price of an Xbox, the price of a PlayStation, stops them from getting on board the new games. So now being able to play on your phone, no matter how old it is, being able to play on your iPad, whatever, it just helps. That just helps even attracting even more people into this awesome hobby that we have. And I just think it's fantastic, and I love the fact that this is happening. And we mentioned last week with online or streaming gaming has a bit of a stigma because Go Live and the PlayStation Now kind of did that, but technology's moved on, and Azure platform is groundbreaking. So actually seeing this happen and seeing that kind of little viaduct was incredible. And I'll stick that in the show notes just in case anyone hasn't seen it, because it's definitely, as you say, it's 3 minutes, and whether you like Microsoft or you're a Sony or a Nintendo fan, it doesn't matter. This is just kind of showing what's going to happen kind of going forward.
I think you're right. I mean, looking at the further on in the press release, they were saying that Microsoft are confident that xCloud is going to run on 4G networks, which is brilliant. But obviously we're on the cusp of 5G now, which is going to give us amazing speeds. Okay, it's a less proximity, so you don't get wider coverage, but we'll start to get 5G. Also, you're looking at services like, potentially people like SpaceX, who are, we're on the cusp of getting Wi-Fi via satellite. Right. The lines that we've got running under the ground are telephone lines that, Comcast in the States and BT over here have a monopoly over. That may not actually be an issue in years to come. It might be a case of we're getting 5G networks, or as well as subscribing to our broadband at home, we now get a mobile phone data plan. Well, maybe we'll get a wireless, Wi-Fi data plan as well. So, and I think looking here, Microsoft has 54 data centers around the world, available in 140 countries. So, yes, wow. I am a Microsoft fan, but actually, I think I am a Microsoft fan from their gaming side of it. I'm not a fan of theirs from their computer side of it. But I think as Microsoft as a company, it's long known that PlayStation, Xbox potentially lose money on their consoles because they get their money back on gaming. So from a business point of view, if Microsoft have got those data centers in all those countries and they can get new people renting or buying Halo, then actually it's more profitable for them as a business, and hopefully then for us gamers, as you say, myself, yourself, Wee Man, Steve, we can go out and buy the latest and greatest, 8K game console, which is fundamentally a gaming PC, play it on our big screens at home and be fully immersed. But when we want to find those extra roads, I'm still the winner, by the way. When we want to find those extra roads, we can do that on the train. When we want to just play a game, or just, I'm running late, I'm just going to jump online. So I think it's going to take a while to get there, but I think it's a good thing we get where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, until the very last console, I'm always going to have a box under my TV, and until you can say, here you go, here's 4K HDR streaming graphics, but I just think that, I will definitely download the app on all of my mobile devices. And one thing that kind of blew my brain, when I saw this was, imagine if, because Microsoft and Nintendo have been very buddy, recently, imagine if they had the Xbox app on the Switch. Yeah. Because what's stopping them? It's a web browser. It's kind of, imagine if they were like, right, and, and Phil comes out at a treehouse, a Nintendo treehouse, and basically says, we're putting the app on there. You've still got to go to Xbox to buy your Game Pass. But imagine, you've got a Switch, you've got a Game Pass, and now you're playing Forza on a Switch, and just like, and that's what I was thinking about when I saw that. I was like, oh God, that'd be so good playing that on my phone. I'll just put a controller in my bag. And I was like, hold up, I already have a controller in my bag. That's my Switch, and I was just like, imagine if that would, oh God, that would just make me so happy.
I think people might turn around and go, that's daydreaming. But, at the end of the day, PlayStation, Xbox, they're all companies. So actually, you look at Google Play Store and you look at the App Store of Apple, they take a percentage for every app that's sold. So actually, if you think about it and you think, Xbox on the Switch is never going to happen. Well, actually, what about if Nintendo just turn around and go, okay, Phil, if you want to do this, that you have to download this, we take all the money from that, and then, but that opens the door to people to be able to use it on your platform. Or they come up with some, finance share, which is like, okay, we know we're using your hardware and, you're using our streaming service, but, they seem to be talking nicely to each other, which, is where we want to get. I don't think we're ever going to get a box that plays PlayStation games, Xbox games in the same way as we can buy, say, like an Apple TV and get, Amazon and Netflix. I don't think I honestly can't see that ever happening. But
No.
But I think that if, people will play together and say, okay, well, if you want to do that because you don't want to pursue your own portable device, which doesn't look like Microsoft wants to do, Microsoft want to go down the streaming gaming side of it, then I think, hats off if Nintendo opened the door to do that, then brilliant. I'll be certainly playing my Switch a hell of a lot more than I do now.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where I was just kind of, my mind started to wander, and I was just like, it was that kind of, I'll put a controller in I already have a controller, and I just thought, how amazing, because right now, when you play Minecraft on a Switch, you're signing into the Xbox Live, and you use your Xbox, it pops up with a Microsoft going sign in to Xbox Live, and you sign into Xbox Live, and while you're playing Minecraft, you're getting Xbox achievements. It's those kind of things, that's happening right now. So it's just a hop and a jump to kind of, having that app, having it as an app on your phone, because, Nintendo are talking about putting Netflix on the Switch. They're talking about all these other stuff. So why not? Why not make that? And, only up until last week did we have the PlayStation are playing nice now. But before then, that was forcing Microsoft and Nintendo to kind of get very buddy, and it only takes a drunken night in Japan, in Tokyo, for Reggie and Phil to go, do you know what, Phil? We'll put it on there, and that's all it takes.
A bit too much sake and it all gets sorted.
Absolutely. So Stu, I was going to call you Phil then. So Phil Spencer on the podcast. So Stu, I've used up my news items. So the next news item says with you.
I've got a feeling a lot of the news is going to be with me tonight. I happened to just open up my my computer the other day and found loads of suitable news stories. So yes, this one is touching on to PlayStation. Now we've talked about Nintendo and Xbox. So PlayStation 5 next generation hardware is a necessity, says Sony, as it confirms work on PS4 successor. So this basically came from a Financial Times interview where the Japanese technology giant has confirmed that it's not necessarily confirmed that it's working on it, but it's necessarily confirming that the PlayStation 5 is something that they are thinking about, and it's something that they need to move on to. So, the console wars are alive, and I think when you look at third-party publishers like Bethesda, they've already announced-ish that they're working on games for next-generation consoles. And I know that I heard on the news today that there was a job posting for one of the studios. The name escapes me now, which is they've sort of posted and put things together to mean it's maybe next generation COD, because they put a job posting up for someone to come and work on an open world game on a next generation console. So we all know they're there, and we all knew that PlayStation must be working on it because Phil's quite open about what Xbox are doing. So, so the first Sony story of the night is that it looks like we're going to get the PS5. Personally, I think it's a 2020 marketer's dream, so we're going to get them in 2020, I reckon. So start saving now. But hopefully it's coming, and we'll get more money out of us.
I wonder what this next one's going to be. I wonder if it's going to be a 1X. I wonder if it's going to be, because we had Spider-Man looks jaw-dropping in 4K, and I think that's running 4K. I don't think it's running checkerboard. I could be wrong, but I think it's running kind of pure 4K HDR. But you imagine if that was, okay, we've clocked it as 60 now, we're now running at 4K. That's all you need in order to make a shiny bump. Because the other day I was chatting to Manny, and he basically went into frame rate mode in Forza. So he kind of did it. So instead of having the graphics mode, he went to performance, and he said, just check it out and have a look. And I checked it out. So obviously you notice the dip in quality. It dips down to 1080p. But my God, was it fast and slick. So I was like, wow, it's incredible. He's like, this is what it's like to be a PC gamer, and it was like, that's kind of, so I quickly put it back because I like shiny. But so I wanted 4K HDR, but seeing, and then again, it kind of got me thinking, like, what 4K HDR 60, 90, 120 would look like. And I think in order for all of these consoles to kind of come out again and almost kind of follow a iPhone, a telephone kind of model. That's what they need to do. They need to go, okay, we're no longer going, you need to choose between resolution and frame rate. You can actually go have both. You can now have both, and the machine's happily doing it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, scanning down this article, which was in the Telegraph again, it's got industry rumours suggest that both the PS5 and Xbox, I do like that name, Xbox, will not feature significant shift in architecture, but both Sony and Microsoft will offer multiple hardware solutions for different types of players. So I think it is that case where I think Sony when they launched the PlayStation 4 basically labelled it as a PC in a box. And I think you're dead right. I think we're getting quicker iterations of our devices now. They're not the same as your iPhones and your Samsung's phones, but we are looking at that actually the Xbox and the PS5 won't be too different. It's not going to be 8K. We can forget about that. But it's going to be higher frame rate. It's going to be the PS5 will be proper 4K, not 4K, and I think they'll just get more powerful. And I think that we're just going to get more shiny. And then moving forward, because it sort of carries on. A recent patent also suggested that Sony is looking at backwards capability for the PS5, something which obviously Microsoft have done for a while now. So skipping over to that story, a Sony patent suggested that the company are looking to make the PS5 backwards compatible. A US Patent and Trademark Office publication patent remastering by emulation on October the 2nd. Sony filed a patent which had previously been published in October 2016, suggesting the idea has been around for a few years. The 14-page document online processes by which textures of old games are remastered on the fly for high-resolution displays, as previously noted by Eurogamer. This could mean that previous console generations looking like slightly improved HD or 4K displays when on the display of a PS5. Now, I've listened to this I've read this whole article, and if you want to read the whole article, then do so. But it talks about how it's going to do it. But I mean, I think about time Sony caught up, to be honest. But I think moving on to the next story in a minute, I think Sony made a bit of a faux pas with the architecture of the PlayStation 4, which means it's not as susceptible to change as the Xbox. So, but I think for all the guys out there who have got PlayStations and that is their main console and they want to be able to get backwards capability, I don't think Sony can't do this. If they don't do this with the PlayStation 5, for me, that's a massive shot in the foot. It's not something I use on the Xbox that much, to be honest, but it's nice to have it and to go back and play those games, especially when they're games with gold. But what's your thoughts? I mean, it's got to be something they've got to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think after it's really interesting, isn't it? Because Microsoft they've coming from behind this generation, but by coming from behind, we have got xCloud, we've got backwards compatibility, we've got all of that. They've ditched the Kinect, all of those things. We're seeing all of these positive moves. We've got Game Pass. We have all of that. So from them being behind, they're teaching the front runners kind of what they need to do next. So you just have to look at Phil Spencer's playbook in order to go, right, we need backwards compatibility. And I enjoy dipping in for nostalgia. I've always said there's a couple of Batman games that I wouldn't mind jumping back into. But if I'm on my PS5 and there's some games on my PS4 that I haven't played, and I don't need to keep my PS4 because my AV cupboard is pretty full already. It's already got a couple of Xboxes, a PlayStation, and everything else. So if I take out my PlayStation 4 to put my 5 in, I want to be able to then I want all of my library. I want to be able to play Spider-Man on my PlayStation 5. I want to be able to do that. So I'm almost kind of a greedy gamer now, where I kind of always take that for granted, that coming out is a well done, Sony, you need to do this. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, what else were you going to do? Because it's one of those things where we've been playing digital games for so long now, but we haven't noticed that they haven't moved on. You bought digital games on Xbox and Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but then you go to PS4 and you have to leave all those games behind. It was only for backwards compatibility and then that connectivity of your library on Xbox that you could then start playing The More again or Comic Jumper or whatever you wanted to play. So now I kind of see that, this is what I want. And it's so good to see that Sony are thinking about this, and they're not getting sure of themselves by coming out of the gate, here you go, here's PlayStation 5. We don't need backwards compatibility because all of our games are really cool. Here's a sizzle reel. They're actually thinking about that. So they just think that actually, Steam PC gamers have been doing this for years. So Microsoft and Sony are all learning from each other, and this is what we do in all walks of life. You see this probably, Stu, in your AV world. You see it in the telephone world, where in the telephone world, in the smartphone world, where Apple copy Android copy Apple, and myself and a friend of mine at work, Dean. He is a big Android guy. He's a big Android. He's green. He might be a robot. I think he might be a robot. No, he's a big Android guy, and whenever we're both excited, like when a Google announcement happens or when an Apple thing, we both watch those, and then we talk about the new features. So it's really nice to actually go, okay, what's Google bringing, because that might appear on my Apple phone in a couple of years' time, and vice versa. So I'm loving that we're getting this now in our gaming space.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that obviously the Sony announced the PlayStation Mini, which is a bit of or PlayStation Classic or whatever you want to call it. And I think again it goes back to what we've said with the Nintendo SNES Minis and things like that, which is great. They're great. They look cute. They look awesome on a little shelf. But I want those games in my hand, on the console, on my big TV. In the case of the Switch, I want them in my pocket on the train or maybe on the big TV at home. I want to show Molly what the original games I played when I was a kid were like and what they're like now compared to the new ones. And the same, I like the idea of a PlayStation Mini or PlayStation Classic, but I think I want those games. That was such a seminal console that I want to be able to just dip in and play those games on my PlayStation. And as I say, I'm openly admit I'm not a big PlayStation fan, but I just want to go back and play some of those games that I can't get on my Xbox. I'm lucky enough to have 3 consoles. Well, I'm lucky to have more 3 consoles, but I'm lucky to have the main 3 consoles. And I don't want to have to get out something else and plug it into my TV just to play, whether that's an old console or a mini console. So I think Sony have got to do it, and I think if they don't do it, it's a massive mistake. And as you say, I think the competition in this world is great in the way of phones or AV receivers or TVs or games consoles, because one person does it, they prove it works, on to the next one. Someone else is going to copy them and come out and do it, which is brilliant.
I mean, I don't think, and I'm happy to be proved wrong, please Sony prove me wrong. I don't think we're going to see a Game Pass for Sony, right now, where it would take something like the next box to be kind of really eating Sony's lunch, for them to then go, okay, here's our PSN pass, for them to be able to do that. They have to be losing the next generation for them to make a bold statement like that. But to borrow backwards compatibility from Steam, from Xbox, and do all of this sort of stuff, I think it's perfect. I think it's fantastic. And the fact that the patent is actually saying that it's going to enhance it as well. So, as we were just saying, the PS5 is 60 frames a second, true 4K, HDR. We pop in Spider-Man. Now Spider-Man's got an extra 30 frames. Jaw-dropping. It's gonna be just jaw-dropping. God of War, you don't have to choose between performance and graphics. You now get both. That would make me want to play those games again, just to kind of see that. And it's just, I love it. I can't wait. I mean, as much as I am happy where I am right now, I agree with you. 2020, I think, is going to be, it sounds futuristic. So that's when you want to bring your future consoles out, is 2020.
Definitely. And moving on to the next PlayStation story, which I think a lot of people will be happy about after they quickly switched on their PlayStation on Christmas Day in 2016 or 2015, and then came up with a stupid online ID that they never realised they could actually change, and now they're whatever, 5 years older or 10 years older or whatever, and they now realise that a name with 69 in the title, or, you know, big boobs 83 is not acceptable when they're married with 3 kids. So taken from the PlayStation blog, PSN online ID change feature enables PlayStation preview program soon. So basically, Sony put, we're happy to announce that we will soon begin testing the long-awaited feature that will allow users to change their PlayStation Network ID on their PlayStation 4 system. The PSN Online ID change feature beta will be part of the PlayStation Preview program and will become available to selected users that have pre-registered as testers for previous PS4 software betas. During the preview, you'll be able to change your online ID as many times as you want. The first time is free, and then additional changes will be $7.99 UK, or for PlayStation Plus members, $3.99 UK, after the first change. Changes on the online ID can be made throughout the settings menu or on the profile page of the PS4. When you change your online ID, scrolling down, when you change your online ID, you will have the option to display your previous ID and your new ID so your friends recognize you. Once you decide to display your old ID or not, you won't be able to adjust this after completing the online ID process. The feature is compatible with PS4 games originally published after the 1st April 2018, and that's a long time ago, and the large majority of most PS4 games that are released before this date. However, please note that not all games applications for PS4, PS3, PS Vita systems are guaranteed to support the online change ID, and users may occasionally encounter issues and certain errors. So what's your thoughts? I mean, I personally, I have my same ID now as I have on my Xbox, but there's been a few times I've nearly got rid of my PlayStation, so I'm not loyal to my PSN ID. But what's your thoughts? I think it's a good change for people out there who are loyal to PlayStation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the PlayStation crowd have been screaming for this for ages. You know, there's been Greg Miller's podcast has had always the kind of the bad PSN names where they kind of highlight the bad PSN names, which always made me chuckle, you know, and so I think they've been an advocate. I haven't watched their podcast because I'm sure they're going to be celebrating this, you know, so I haven't, all right. So I'm looking forward to kind of watching / listening when I'm on my way into London tomorrow. And, you know, and it's that sort of stuff. So the PlayStation community has been chomping for this, and why shouldn't you? You know, why shouldn't you kind of change your name? You know, as you say, circumstances change, and you've gone from being a child to an adult, and then when you're at work and you want to change, you know, and you want to share your ID, you know, you have it go, people go, well, what's your gamer tag? We'll join up, and you have this embarrassing one that you want to, you don't want to share. And for me personally, maybe they've done the thing where they've recycled the old ones, because I had Chessman, and then I lost either my email account or whatever, and it was in the transition that I couldn't get it back, so I had to be PS-Chessman. So for me, the first thing I'm going to do when I jump into this and see if Chessman's available, and if it is, boom, damn, there you go, I've got it, and I'm on my way to being just like James, and he will no longer annoy me at the end of the pod when he just says big shit on everything. Yeah. I will be Chessman on everything, you know, and that's like, you know, and that's it, because it's like PS-Chessman. That's just a little bit, I like Chessman, you know, I just like it. So I can see why people kind of do this. So yeah, I think it's a great step. It obviously means that they're doing a bit of background maintenance as well, and kind of some changing around if they now should be able to do this, because all it should be is a text tag. But by the sounds of it, from way back when, PlayStation must have kind of always had that as the unique ID, rather than, you know, on Xbox, I'm sure I've got Chessman, but my actual ID, Microsoft see me as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, just a unique ID. It's day one of building a database. You have a unique identifier. You know, I learned that years ago. But someone at PlayStation went, don't worry, we'll have text. A text-based column will be our unique ID.
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on there. And that's what I'd heard on the grapevine, was that when Xbox did live years ago, they basically had their ID which they knew you by. So for an easier way of putting it, it's a bit like your Switch code, which no one understands. Yes. But then they did the show code. I suppose it's a little bit like your Twitter handle, at Mr. I mean, okay, with mine it's at Mr. Stuart Burgess and the name's Mr. Stuart Burgess, but it's sort of like, so your PlayStation, so your Xbox was random code, but you were seen as, Chessman or General Letdown.
Yeah.
But I think with Sony, what they did was they basically gave it a one column. So Excel spreadsheet, one column, that's what you'll always be known as. And the problem that was because, you got to remember back then, trophies, Chivos weren't around. Online gaming was still in its infancy, and it was just one of these things to get you online. No one could have ever dreamed that we'd be sitting there for hours to win the contest of unlocking the most roads in a game.
Which
I won. I've got the proof for it. It's date stamped. He's never going to get that. And then basically it's, I think that no one ever realised that was going to be. I think the only thing you've got to watch out is, going further down the blog, they put for if any reason you experience issues after changing your ID, you can revert back to your original ID, for free at any time. You will only be able to revert back once in the preview program. By reverting back to your old ID, this will solve most issues caused by the ID change. So I think what they're getting at is some games might not be changed, older games might not be reprogrammed. So you might not appear on the leaderboard, or you might have lost that, that the pinnacle of what it is. The beta is going to roll out round about the end of November. And then it's planned to roll out early 2019 to everybody. So, I think, hats off to Sony. They did it arguably, and I'll get slated for it. They did it wrong when they did it originally. They chose a different path, but hats off to them. They're changing that. And, no one knew where we were going to be now back then. So, you can't blame them.
It sounds like they've just added 2 extra columns to that table.
Definitely, yeah.
That they've had to obviously get everyone, because I wonder if games need, as you're saying, there might be some games that don't get it. I wonder if they've kind of either, they've masked the name of the column, or they kind of made other people do patches. Yeah. It's like, okay, you need to patch your game, which is why they're saying that. But yeah, absolutely. Again, all of these PlayStation series that we've got, it's just great. It's great for us. It's great for gamers that we have this freedom, flexibility, and foresight.
And they're not, and they're not sitting there. I mean, PlayStation announced it last year, didn't they? They announced they were doing it at EGX, I think. Was it EGX, I think, or was it PlayStation? No. PSX. So they had to come out with something, because people were going, okay, there is not going to be this one this year. So what are they going to do? So hats off. And I think it's great for us that they're constantly evolving. So, but anyway, that's enough of me talking. So, we're going to hand back to Anthony for his news story.
I have one. So it's just like, and so this one is still PlayStation, but PlayStation VR, which I hope PlayStation, when they bring out kind of PlayStation 5, I hope we get a PlayStation VR 2.0, because that would oh my god, that would be amazing. But so I almost kind of have a marriage of all things that I like, PlayStation VR and Borderlands 2. So Borderlands 2 announced that Borderlands 2 VR is going to be hitting PlayStation VR in December. So there's no word on Oculus or HTC Vive yet. It's just purely, but I'm sure that's on the way. But we have PlayStation VR, and it's coming out in December. So there's a trailer, which I'll stick in the show notes. But it's basically just showing that this is going to be Borderlands 2 VR, which is a single player only. So instead of having one of the things that I love about Borderlands is that you just kind of get a group of people and then you go off. But this is going to be it's just going to be a single player experience. So it's going to be a Borderlands experience. Even though it's Borderlands 2, it looks like it's very much going to be, from the trailer, it looked like you had the Waggle Wands, the PlayStation Waggle Wands, the Joy-Con controllers or whatever they're called. So it looks like that, because you could see that. So you could have a gun in each hand, which you can do in Borderlands. So you had a gun in each hand, and there was lots of kind of almost jumping to points There was a slow-mo mode, and it just looked, I really quite liked it. If this ever kind of comes to like a PlayStation Plus or something like that, I'd definitely jump in, because it looks like it would be one of those things that would be fun for a little while, just to kind of enjoy that experience. They have, in the trailer, they have a big old loot box as well that you can then kind of, but I just kind of like, one thing that I really like about this, and the reason why I stuck it in the news items, is just the Borderlands world is always something that's always captured me, because I love that cel-shaded look. The story about Borderlands way back when was that they had a very generic looking shooter, and then one of the guys from the art department had an idea, and over the weekend cel-shaded like Borderlands, and came back with like big dark lines and showed Randy Pitchford, I believe it was, and they were like, yes, that's it. Because if you look at the early screenshots of Borderlands, it just looks like Mad Max the game. But then Borderlands is just amazing, because there is that drew me in. The art style drew me in, and then obviously after the first one, the other two were just must plays, and I can't wait for Borderlands 3. But Borderlands 2's coming, so you still get to play as a Siren, Commando, Gunzerker, and Assassin, but it's just kind of, it looks like it's a little bit slower paced until they start coming at you, but you can shoot them with, it looks like the Waggle ones, doesn't look like it's a Joy-Con, looks like it's, or a Joypad, it looks more like it's kind of those, but it looks like it could be a fun experience in VR.
Yeah, I mean, I know James has sold his PSVR, and I know a few people have been a little bit hypocritical about what's coming out for it, but I think that it's great that we are getting more games for it, and I think it's different. I mean, I think I said on the pod before that I took my PS4 Pro up to the office, because the way I have my lounge set up, I couldn't use the VR here that well. So I took it up the office, and I dived into the demo of Transcendence, and I dived into Moss, which is a phenomenal game. And I just, I had a bit of a play around with it, and it just, I suppose, in the same way as the Wii or the Switch, it gives you a different way of gaming, and every now and again you just want to do something a bit different. So, I've been looking at the new Oculus. The name escapes me now, but like I've been having a look at the new Oculus, which comes out next year. I might look at that, because that is a hands-free, computers in it sort of machine. And I typical style of me, I got thinking that I can't carry on carrying my PS4 from the office to the house every time I want to play a game. So I did buy the Spider-Man edition PlayStation 4 when that came out, and that is gorgeous. I sold the horrible the controller for it, but I kept the console. That's amazing. But I just want to be able to just dip into something like this, even if it's a game I've played before and I'm familiar with. I think putting it into VR just brings it in such a different way, and can take make an old title a new title again. So I do hope Sony don't can it. I do hope they either update it, or they just keep on supporting the original, and come out with some different titles and some different experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, you're kind of spot on there about kind of like just like leaving it in the office, because Astrobot is out, and everybody's raving about Astrobot at the moment, saying this is the must-play PSVR title, and there's a demo coming out in, what day is it today? It's the 11th. Next week, on the 16th, there's a demo of Astrobot coming out, and everyone's talking about Astrobot, and it's just, it got 9 out of 10 with IGN, and and just getting some really kind of high rate. But I thought, I'll jump into it, because the full game's out now. I thought, I'll jump into it, but then I just can't be bothered. Because now that we're back in the movie room, I've now got to get my PlayStation out of the cupboard to plug in all of that stuff, and then all my nice neat cables now get all kind of messed up, and then I have to, and then just to kind of play that for like half an hour, 2 hours, and then I've got to put it all back again. So I'm just like, I cannot be bothered, to the point where I'm like you. I was like, maybe I need a second PlayStation, but then in my head was like, why do I need? I barely play my PlayStation, I just play it but then I'm like, but it would be so easy for the room that I'm up in right now. I've got a spare Sony TV over in the corner, I could just, you don't even need a TV.
No.
You know, you could just plug all of that up and just have that as a bit of a VR space. And it's just, I really want to play these games, but I want Sony to make it easier for me to do it, you know. And there's always that thing where if it takes more, my entire room is that I just reach for something, grab it, play it, because if it takes more than that, it's a rigmarole and you don't want to do it.
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's you know, I'm sitting here now in my lounge and I've got my Xbox controllers right next to me because I was dipping into Forza before we podded. Just over is my Onyx PlayStation controller. And I just have the ability with my control system just to go play Xbox, and then I can play my Xbox. And if I've got to go to a cupboard and set it up, then that already makes me think, I'll do it later. So I think for me, and because of the way my lounge is laid out, my answer is by having the PlayStation always set up at the office. It's set up to my video. I've got like a video wall in the office, which I've got like 4 TVs from random sort of years where when we build the AV racks for people's houses, I bench test them, soak test them at the office, so I can replicate an 8-zone multi-room audio system and a 4-room video system. But what that does mean is that, you know, I can have my Xbox and my PlayStation up on one of those TVs, or I can quickly, easily dip into playing PSVR. It does get quite spooky though when you're in there playing Transcendence at 8:00 at night and you know that it's pitch black outside. You're going round and round in circles, and because you're not used to it, it's not your house, you bump into a wall which you forget's there. But for me, that's how it's worked. And but yeah, I mean, this is why I like the look of the Oculus for next year, is that it is potentially a powerful little device that is completely cable free. And I think that I may well jump into that because I do like VR. And for the business, I think VR is good for making people stand in their cinema rooms and things like that. So I'm a big supporter of it. I don't think Microsoft will jump into it. I just hope Sony support it and not ditch it like they have done with some of their other stuff.
I would play so much more PSVR if it was wireless. You know, imagine PS5, it's wireless. So you basically just put on the headset and off you go. You know, you have it. I would happily do that, because you're right. What happens is now, for me, I'm now, okay, Borderlands when that comes out, I want to play Astro Bot, I want to play, you know, the next Moss when that comes out, but it almost becomes, I have to build a day around it. And then it only takes a minute thing like Nicola going, actually, we're going to go into town and we're going to go and get a pumpkin spice latte. And I'm like, PlayStation, what now? And I just will ditch it, you know. And so it just, if I could just, in my cupboard, even if I had to attach the cable, but in my cupboard, just take my, because it's in a cupboard just above the AV rack. It's there, you know, just above the AV cupboard, it's there. So all I need to do, same as my gaming headphones, just unbox it. And if all I had to do is plug it in and put it on, I'd be happy. But now I've got to get the camera out. I've got to do all of that. And it just is, I want to play these titles, I really do. But it just, they need to make it a little bit more accessible.
It's a rigmarole.
It's a rigmarole. So yes. So speaking of rigmarole, Stu, the next piece of news is with you.
So a bit of a public service announcement. So if Anthony does in fact get his pumpkin spice latte, and he does in fact get this pod crimped and cropped ready for publishing on Saturday, you may well be playing Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which comes out Saturday. Good segue. But what you need to be aware of is that you won't be able to just insert your physical disc of Call of Duty Black Ops 4 on Saturday. You'll be, even if you're getting a physical copy of the game, you're going to need to download a, inverted commas, massive day one patch before you can jump into multiplayer Blackout or Zombies. So how big are we talking? We're talking a 50 gig patch. So that means that you'll have a total of 112 gigabyte space on your PS4 hard drive or Xbox.
What now?
Yeah. So even if you buy a physical copy, which gets delivered from Amazon, and they've put start playing on Friday here, but I've just looked at Amazon. Oh, it might be Amazon delivery window, but it says on Amazon Saturday. So even if you've got a physical copy of this in your hands, you're still going to have to put it in your machine, and you're still going to have to download a 50 gig pack.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
So
wow.
yeah, so that Game of the Year award for biggest patch, I believe, is going to go to Call of Duty Black Ops. But yeah, so you're going to have to download the patch. I mean, blimey, that 50 gigs for me would that's a half a day probably on 17 download speed, or at least a good couple of hours. At my office, that would probably take me 2 days. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I know we have to do patching, and I know with physical media there's the whole distribution, the fact that Amazon have probably got them sitting in their warehouse now. You know, some people might be getting it tomorrow as we pod on Thursday. But yeah, a 50 gig patch on a day one release for a 120 gigabyte game.
That is just incredible. It kind of almost makes you think, like, what's on the disc? You know, it's just there's so much. That is a game that has been shipped, and then they've shipped it, but then they obviously have so much more that they needed to do after they kind of went gold on that. But that's, I mean, I think, was it you and I when we were chatting last week where you were saying it would be really cool if you could actually say, you know, you kind of pre-ordered it from Amazon, so Amazon gave you a code that you then put into your PlayStation, or you put into your Xbox, and it downloaded that patch, you know, and it kind of went, here you go, here's your patch. It may have to download the whole 120 gig, but, you know, I bought Red Dead, so I pre-ordered Red Dead, and I've got that digital, and, you know, right now it just kind of, it kind of always went ready to play, and I was like, no good, not, because I looked at it and there's nothing yet. Obviously, over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a time when it's like, okay, I need to download 104 gig, you know, are you ready for this? And I'm hoping that we'll do it overnight. But having to kind of get home, you know, little Johnny, you know, gets home from school, and, you know, he's got Call of Duty, and he puts it into his thing, and then he has to download a 50 gig
with
patch.
a 1 meg download speed.
With a 1 meg download
I think you're
speed.
right. I think
That's crazy.
you know, I mean, Black Ops for me this year, I played the beta, which we kindly had some codes for. It was good. For me, it was PUBG. And it got me excited as much as PUBG. It had a Call of Duty style to it. You know, a week or two before that, I got the Battlefield beta, because Battlefield and COD were always my Christmas games. I always played the single player. There's no single player in Black Ops this year, so I'm not buying the game. But Battlefield I will still play because I really enjoy the single player. So I got to participate in the beta for that, and I really enjoyed that, the online, and I thought that was great. But I think that when it comes to buying a physical media, Red Dead, I want to play it because what I've heard, you know, what I've heard Gerard Petty say about on Red Dead Radio and some of the other podcasts. I want to play it because it sounds, from a gaming point of view, from a gamer, from a person who does a gaming podcast, I think I need to see it. But I've bought it physically because I don't know if I will continue to play it. So I'm thinking, well, I'm not spending 60 quid on the game, which I was going to sit in my cupboard or sit on my hard drive, and I'm not going to play it till the cows come home. I want to be able to potentially sell it like I normally do with COD. So you buy a game like, I think you buy like Battlefront or something like that, or you get a limited edition release, a downloadable code. The PS4, Spidey PS4 I got, that had a code that come with it for the downloadable content. So I don't see, I think you're correct. I don't see why I buy Red Dead Redemption on physical media and that comes with a email that gives me exclusive content or a downloadable code. I don't see why we can't do that to say, okay, thanks for ordering Red Dead on Xbox One. Here is a code to enable you to download any patches until you put the physical disc in. It won't work until you put the physical disc in, so you're still reliant on your Amazon delivery, but you can download it. I don't see how they can't set that up, and that would be brilliant, because, to say, a 50 gig patch, I mean, that is going to really seriously pee some people off on that day they want to play it with their mates.
Yeah, absolutely, because if you think about it, you know, that's how backwards compatibility works on Xbox One. You know, you downloads a digital copy of that original Xbox game, but it doesn't trigger unless you buy it digitally or you put the disc in. So that's all it needs to do. But for me, again, you know, kind of Activision should have looked at this and looked at it from a human experience, because you are a gamer, you're getting home, it's Friday night, you've got COD, all your mates have maybe they weren't at school, didn't go to work, did whatever it was, bought it digitally, did whatever they did, and you want to play. You got to wait for a 50 gig patch to download, and if you haven't listened to this pod, then what's up with you? But if you haven't, you haven't heard about this, you don't know that this is down, this takes out your Friday night. So while your friends are kind of leveling up, getting to what they need to do, and what they should have done, and I know it's hard, but what they should have done was maybe gone, okay, everybody's in this for either the multiplayer, the zombies. So let's just say multiplayer. Let's not even do battle royale. Let's go. Everybody wants to be multiplayer. They should have enabled multiplayer to be maybe separately updated. So similar to the Master Chief Collection, where you go, actually, I just want to play multiplayer. So it pops up a screen going, what do you want to play first? You go, I want to play multiplayer. I want to play the battle royale. I want to play zombies. Choose, and then it downloads the gigs for that. So you get like 5, 7, 8 gig, a lot quicker than 50, downloads that, and then off you go. And then the rest of it just downloads over time, but that means you're in there playing with your friends straight away, and they haven't unlocked all of that cool stuff and kind of made you feel like a big old loser. So that's what they should have done, and that's kind of would have been a better way to maybe handle a huge day one patch for a game that is purely online.
Also the other thing I've just suddenly popped into my head, what about if your data allowance doesn't give you enough data or enough your device plan?
God.
So if you're on
you've used it up playing COD,
or if you've used it up playing COD or Fortnite, and you're on, let's say, you're on a 4G data plan on a home network router, which I use for out and about, or you've only got so much download on your BT subscription, and we're on the 11th of the month now, so we're the middle of the month. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine going, you need to download a 50 gig patch, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, Billy's online and Tom's online, and they're all getting out, and then it gets halfway through and it stops downloading, and your email goes off. It's like, you've run out of data. Would you like to buy some more? Yeah, I don't think you're going to be very happy.
No. Or like one of the guys in my team, he's just moved kind of rural Manchester way, and he basically just has what is pretty much a little kind of 4G dongle. And has, he can barely stream Netflix, because we were talking about 4K, and he was like, what's the speed for 4K? And I was telling him, it was like, I'm never going to get 4K. He can barely, we do a VidCon on a Friday, we can just about kind of get that. If his phone goes off, he goes a bit fuzzy. He would never be able to do this. He'd never be able to play this game that he's just bought.
No, and it's to say, we can wax lyrical about it, and I think it is a classic case of, they're improving the game. They have to push the game out. It's at the end of the day, for the gamers, it's beneficial. But they've got to think about the fact of the PR around this could completely blow up in their face if with Reddit and forums. I mean, you already get enough trolls on posts on Facebook and things like that. This is going to be quite interesting to look on Friday, Saturday about what happens. But hey, we can't do it. There's nothing we can do about it. It's going to happen. So just if you hopefully if you listen to this podcast before you get your copy, or you're spending your weekend doing it, no pressure, Anthony, then you at least make sure you download it before you sit down in your PJs and your Xbox controller in your hand.
Yeah, or if you've got a friend who's waiting for it to download and he's got 50 gig to download, just tell him about Gamers Lost Spark podcast.
Yes, exactly.
They can listen to it whilst he's waiting for it to download. That's it. Well, what we should do is we should try and figure out how long it's going to take to download 50 gig on an average speed, and make sure that this podcast is that long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Should we just sort of whistle now we're already looking at, we're already at over 2 hours, so should we just keep on going for 3?
Yeah, anyway, so right, back to the top news.
What have you been playing?
So back to those 529 roads that you've only unlocked, and there's two more.
I think we need to wrap this up.
Anyway. And that's about it for this podcast. Big thank you for listening. Stu, big thank you for pulling up a mic.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
Excellent stuff. Don't forget you can keep up with us at gamerslostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at Lost Spark Pod. You can also find us on YouTube, and also on Lost Spark PS4 Community and Xbox One Club. Stu, where can people catch up with you?
Yeah, you can find me on the PSN network and Xbox as a General Letdown. I am quite often on the aforementioned Xbox Club for the Forza Horizon. And on Twitter, you can find me on Mr. Stuart Burgess on Twitter, and also General Letdown on Mixer, because I'm a Mixer streamer now. I have about 5 hours of Mixer streaming.
Wow, all those XPs. From me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch, PS-Chessman on PlayStation Network for now, and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamerslostspark.com. That's about it, Stu. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. Thank you for having me.